From WNYT Albany, News Channel 13 live at 5 begins with breaking news.
Good evening. Thank you very so much for joining us. I'm Steve Coos, Rachel Lazar. We begin with that breaking news. It's happening out of Troy. That is where right now crews are working on a water main that broke at the intersection of 6th Avenue and Federal Street. Because of this big mess, all the traffic in that area of Troy is currently being blocked off. Our Tessa Bentulin is joining us live now from the scene. Good evening, Tessa. How are things looking out there? A little wet still.
Yeah, hi, Steve. Yeah, there was a lot of flooding here earlier. Good news, they've kind of been able to remedy that, but there's still a huge, gaping hole in the middle of the intersection here at Federal Street and 6th Avenue as Troy Public Utilities work to remedy where that break is happening, that water main break. And you actually see, even though the flooding is gone, they still have water pumping out of this hose here, and it's going into this sewer line over here, actually right behind this car. So unfortunately you can't see from here, but you can see the line of water that's going. And then also the roads are blocked off at each side of this intersection here as well. So we've got Troy police on each side of the intersection rerouting traffic. So if you are heading this way, it's part of your commute back home from work or wherever you may be, and you travel through Troy or you live in Troy, make sure you try to find an alternate route. I've seen Troy police try and tell people this area is closed. You got to find another way to get home. We also spoke to Mayor Mantella today, or Carmela Mantello, and she also tells us that, try and find an alternate route because you don't want to underestimate what's going on here.
People underestimate water, and you'll see it ripped up our paving, etc. They're containing it. It actually, at one time, you probably saw on Twitter, it looked like a creek here, but by containing it, they're now able to begin working on it shortly, but we'll be going into the night.
And we've been here for about an hour and a half, 2 hours now. And since then, we've seen actually more crews show up and more people show up to kind of work on this water main break here as they try to find where that break exactly happened down in the middle of this intersection here. And around this area as well, there's on almost each side of the intersection, each corner, there's either like an apartment complex or assisted living or a disabled persons living as well, building. And from what I'm told from Mayor Mantello is that these people will not be affected by this. They are not without water tonight. There is other connecting pipes that kind of offset what's going on here. But for now, live here in Troy, I'm Tessa Bentulin. Steve, back to you.
Always a tough situation. We had to dig through feet of pavement and dirt like that. Hopefully they get that patched up sooner than later for everybody. Well, tonight we do have an update on a deadly shooting. Now, this is something we brought you last night as breaking news. Schenectady police have just released the name of the woman who was shot and killed on Charles Street. Zach Richter has the latest from Schenectady.
Good afternoon, Steve. Police telling us today that when they arrived on scene, they noticed a man suffering from what appeared to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound. They also saw a woman suffering from gunshot wounds who did not survive. Schenectady police announcing late this afternoon that the victim who was killed in the shooting was 30-year-old Erica Brown. Now, that man, police say, is in his 40s and is currently being detained by officers and is in critical condition at a local hospital. Police say this all began just after 8 p.m. last night as officers responded to 11 Charles Street. Neighbors tell us that they heard a dispute coming from the house and then two loud booms, which they say sounded like gunshots.
Our officers responded to the scene, located a female suffering from a gunshot wound or gunshot wounds. At this time, where it's unknown. She was pronounced deceased on the scene. Upon arrival as well, they located a male who was also seriously injured. That male was brought along with police to a local hospital and is receiving care there right now. The extent of his injuries, we're not sure at this time.
Now, police also tell us that 5 children were found in the home after the shooting and unharmed, 3 of those children being Miss Brown's. Now, police officially calling last night's shooting a homicide, and anyone with information is being asked to call the Schenectady Police Tips line at the number below on your screen. In Schenectady, with coverage you can trust, Zach Richter, News Channel 13.
Certainly heartbreaking what those kids are having to go through tonight. Thank you for that, Zach. Well, today, nurses at Albany Med Center are working without a contract. That's because it expired yesterday. Nurses and the hospital are sharing currently what's next, as both sides are just trying to come to an agreement. Stella Porter just got back from Albany Medical Center, and she's now joining us here in the studio with what they're saying. Stella.
Hi, Steve. Both sides have agreed to bring in a mediator. They've been negotiating for several months now. Nurses, part of the New York State Nurses Association, are demanding the hospital fix what the union says is a staffing crisis. Nurses who are negotiating spoke with us today. They say the long wait times reported in the hospital's emergency department are tied directly to high turnover of staff. They say the hospital is bringing in new nurses, but not doing enough to retain veterans.
We cannot have a hospital full of new grads taking care of all of the patients that are getting transported in from other hospitals because they need a higher level of care. They deserve to have nurses to turn to guide them through this so that they can be that strong.
I asked Albany Med CEO Dr. Dennis McKenna today about long wait times that nurses say is because of a lack of staff. I asked him if the high wait times recorded at Albany Med are acceptable and whether they are due to staffing. He says long wait times are not acceptable, but they are a regional problem. He goes on to say that they are going down this year, and the reason for them is more complicated than just staffing.
Your specific question, is it about staffing? I'd say the answer is no. We know there's a lot of demands put on emergency departments. We know that at Albany Med, obviously, as a trauma program, as a children's hospital with comprehensive services, there's significant demand put on us for that. But there are many things that we have done and continue to do to meet those demands.
And a mediator could take about a week to come in. Dr. McKenna says it's not unusual for nurses' contracts to expire, and he says he's confident they will come to an agreement. Steve?
Such essential work they do over there. Hopefully it gets solved soon. Thank you, Stella. Okay, well, today, talking weather right now. Obviously, got that sun out. Things have been drying off. But with all that moisture heading up into the air, we're definitely feeling the humidity. Let's head over to Chief Meteorologist Paul Kayano with a look at our first warning hour-by-hour forecast. Paul.
Hey, Steve. Yeah, we're starting the month of August, much like we went through most of July. And that's hot and humid with temperatures reaching 90 again. You can see some of these convective clouds showing up here in Catskill with that humidity Steve was talking about in the air on the CDPHP first warning cam. It's right at 92 degrees. Albany's 91. A lot of high 80s and low 90s across the capital region here at the 5 o'clock hour. So while it is dry, it is hot and humid, and we want you to take it easy into the evening. Don't overdo it. If you usually go for a walk around this time, maybe wait a little later until the sun goes down more, or maybe split that up a little bit and take a shorter walk. But nothing on the first warning. Live Doppler radar. We did have a thunderstorm fire over Washington County earlier, but that's long gone. And we'll see temperatures stay rather warm, and it will be humid right on into the night, even past sunset. Temperatures only slowly dropping back through the 80s and into the 70s. We'll see if we can hit 90 again tomorrow. Our next chance of showers and thunderstorms will show up. And what does it all mean for the weekend? Details in the complete forecast coming up. Steve.
Sounds good. Thank you, Paul. Tonight, police in Berkshire County are looking for the scam artist who conned an elderly man out of $10,000. Dalton police say an 88-year-old man got a phone call last Friday. A person pretending to be his grandson said that he'd just been arrested after a car crash. He said he needed $10,000 to be bailed out of jail immediately. Well, that grandfather scraped together the money to be picked up by a courier. As it turns out, there was never any accident, and his grandson wasn't in any trouble at all. The man had become the victim of the classic grandparent scam. Dalton Police Chief Deanna Strout says she's confident that her detectives are making progress in this investigation.
I think that's a huge component of our elderly population. They're embarrassed. They realize, geez, I just gave $10,000 to someone and realize that everything was fine. And they don't tell their family members because they are embarrassed. And what they have to understand is they shouldn't be embarrassed because these people are really good at what they do.
The chief there says a courier who returned to that man's house to collect a second payment was arrested. That person denies any wrongdoing. Chief Strout now is urging folks not to give money to people who they don't know. We're taking a live look right now over Catskill. You can see those big puffy clouds in the sky. You can almost feel the humidity in that photo. Chief Meteorologist Paul Kahn will have your full forecast when we come right back.
The viral nature of his obituary, I think, would have made him happy that he was finally able to not only come out, but come out big.
We are all storytellers. Stories live inside the person who finds the strength to meet the challenge of the coming day.
We're making this community strong.
Stories live within the hearts of our neighbors.
One Marine crawled Teddy's body and saved his life.
Stories live within the minds of those who seek to make change.
They only see one side of us. We're human too. We have families.
And they live within the lives changed by a single defining moment.
Be as generous and kind as you possibly can to one another.
Stories live in each of us.
We got a miracle.
There's a story inside you.
Hurrah.
Tell the story. News Channel 13. Coverage you can trust.
Tonight, News Channel 13 salutes Gary Horton from Schenectady. He served in the Air Force. We salute him and thank him for his service. Today, a Child's Place at Unity House is finishing off the summer with a big celebration. You see, over the past 4 weeks, a Child's Place hosted education programs taught by teachers from the Arts Center of the Capital Region. The program is focusing on STEAM, which stands for, STEM actually, which stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Art, and Math. On his team. Students were able to learn about 7 different cultures and get a lesson inspired by the Olympics. Well, we want to get that full forecast in right now. We still got some time. Paul, how are things looking?
Yeah, we're hot again. You mentioned the humidity that's out there, making it feel even hotter. One thing we don't have, like yesterday, all those showers and storms that were out there. They're coming back, but not today. Live at 5 going off without a hitch tonight, and still right around 90 degrees at Jennings Landing. It's a funk night, and you could expect that heat and humidity to produce that steam bath well into the evening. Here's Albany, downtown on the CDPHP first warning cam. You can see some of those cumulus clouds in the distance over Rensselaer County. Downtown right now, 91 degrees. Not a whole lot showing up here on the first warning live Doppler radar. We had one thunderstorm rolling through Washington County at around 2 o'clock this afternoon, but that has since died out. We're going to keep our eyes on this little ripple here coming across the Caroga Lake area, not really amounting to much now. It's really the temperature and the humidity that's making the headline weather-wise. 91 in Albany, 87, both Bennington and Ballston Spa, even 98, or rather 89 at Kinderhook. But it feels like 90 when you factor in the humidity. In more places with the humidity feeling like at least 90 degrees here in the 5 o'clock hour. We're in between disturbances. Yesterday's departing over the Maritimes. The next one still out by Chicago. So we're in this sweet spot here, at least for today, with generally dry weather that's going to last right through the evening. But the next storm system is steadily heading in our direction. You can see it spinning out over Minneapolis and throwing a cold front through Chicago. That's going to head our way for tomorrow. And it does look like by late in the day, we run the risk of some showers and thunderstorms. So I think we'll have enough time tomorrow to hit 90 again by early afternoon, although clouds will tend to increase. The humidity will be higher. And with that energy coming along with the front, that's why we see the difference in producing showers and thunderstorms by mid to late afternoon tomorrow as we get deeper into the day. Track, same type of story, a hot, humid day, muggy at breakfast time with highs near 90, but do be prepared for those late day storms right around the 9th or 10th race, perhaps a little bit later. Hour by hour forecast showing dry weather tonight, mainly clear skies, a little bit of mugginess, a little bit of fog. By lunchtime, we start to see those billowing clouds. Then those scattered showers and storms show up around 5 or 6 o'clock. Maybe a couple downpours and wind gusts with these on Friday. And right now, the weekend looking a little bit iffy, but not a big washout here. We'll roll through Saturday. You could see some showers showing up a little bit by about 1 or 2 o'clock, but not an all-day rain. So we'll have to pick our spots out for both weekend days. 68 tonight, warm and muggy, back up to 91 tomorrow, though the difference here is that we'll see some scattered showers and thunderstorms before the day is through. The weekend, more of the same, some dry stretches, couple periods of showers and thunderstorms, mid-80s, and it looks nice heading into the middle part of next week.
That's why it's important to watch us and get the weather app, too.
You got it.
All right. Thank you very much, Paul. Well, thank you all for joining us here live at 5 on YouTube. Here's Mark Mulholland now with what's ahead live at 6 on News Channel 13.
I'm Mark Mulholland outside Great Meadow Correctional Facility in Fort Anne. The real human impact of closing Washington County's biggest employer.
Yeah.